So a little garden update for you. Fountain is finally clear. We've had loads of problems trying to find a good algae suppressor. Finally found one, so that's lovely and clear. Cypresses are doing beautifully in the pots, and we have fruit for the first time on our pomegranate tree. It's been planted for about 3 years, and finally we've got about 10 different fruits coming on it. Usually it flowers. It's been flowering for the first 2 or 3 years, but then the flowers have been dropping off. But this year we have these juicy pomegranates coming, and the snails are loving it as well. It's a little snail hotel. Car park area, we finished the wall earlier in the year, and we've planted lots of cypress trees and a new palm. All our palms were hit by palm caterpillars this year, but I treated them all with nematoids and they seem to be coming back beautifully. I transplanted all of the red hot pokers from down the bottom all around the garden, and they've taken beautifully. My agapanthus that I put here from another pot is flowering. It won't flower fully until it's filled the pot with roots. In a few years that'll go from 5 flowers to about 30. And I planted some grasses earlier in the year in these pots just by the doorway into the wood barn, and they've just come beautifully, and they just rustle gorgeously in the wind. And then coming through to Marion's garden at the back of the house. This part, as you can see, is always in shade, so the acers love it there and are thriving. Marion's rose over her arbour is doing so well and flowers right throughout the year until the end of October, November. And also we bought her a white hydrangea a few years ago, and I was worried about it for a little while, but it seems to have come back and is beautifully flowering now. Love white hydrangeas. And then another agapanthus that I planted, which is now coming beautifully as well. And these 3 cypresses that we planted quite a few years ago have really taken off. The one on the left is growing even taller than the others. And then our new terraced area that we're working on, Kev has faced the front with stone. It's got to be pointed, and the terrace will be covered with these lovely flagstones. Our orchard is coming along nicely. At the beginning of the year we let all the grass grow wild, and we had some incredible flowers down there, the most beautiful orchids. But as the season went on, the grass just got too tall, so we've cut it back now. We'll let it go wild again next spring, but the trees seem to have all taken really well. Just have to keep an eye on them now throughout the hottest part of the summer. And then our grapevines, these are table grapes that we planted 3 years ago, have just gone absolutely mad. And I have to keep cutting them back, but we're getting some really, really lovely bunches of grapes developing on them. As you can see, there are about 6 different varieties of grapes that should fruit from about end of August right through until the end of October. The roses that I planted 3 years ago have just been incredible this season. Although they flowered very early and they did get damaged by the rain, I cut them back. I wish this was smell-o-vision, because the smell on these is just amazing. Need to do some deadheading on those. And coming around to our beautiful olive tree, which is thriving. And then our lemon trees, which we nearly lost due to a really severe frost. I cut them back hard and they are coming back beautifully. Won't get any lemons on those now for a few years, but they survived, that's the main thing. And coming across to all my succulents that I love. They are so unusual and prehistoric almost, some of them. and they give the most beautiful flowers, and they just last and grow and look amazing even without flower. My favourite echinacea. I've just bought a new one, a pink one that I'll show you in a minute. The new lemon trees and the new lime tree. And then coming through to our sage area. I've always had problems growing sage, especially in pots, but I read up about it, and apparently you have to give them really good drainage and a good reservoir. These have grown crazily, but this one is suffering a little bit, so I've cut it back. I've fed it, I'm going to keep watering it. And we've created a little sage seat, so you can sit here and be a sage amongst the sage. This is a problem area because the dogs tend to dig holes here all the time, and it's very shaded and very dry, but I keep filling it with all sorts of dry plants, hoping that things take, and some have been successful and some haven't. I need to keep trying. And then my living roof, which I've just been sticking succulents in between the tiles and putting dead leaves and things in, and it's blooming beautifully and keeps coming back stronger and stronger. This is at the back of the pool, and these are called perovskia, and they look a bit like lavenders. They smell nothing like lavender, but they are incredible. Now, I cut these right back to the stumps in the spring, and look how much they've grown. The bees and the butterflies just absolutely love them. And then coming up to a new area that we created last year, and I've just filled this full of grasses and a lovely night-scented jasmine, and the alliums that I've planted are just coming through, and they're just beautiful. These are really tall ones. I've had other shorter alliums in. That end is doing extremely well. This end is shallower. I need to add a few more grasses in here. And then over to my little Zen Buddha area. My little Buddha there is being absorbed by all the beautiful succulents. She's loving it. And to my little prayer house that Rachel bought me, which again is thriving in this little old trough. And finally around to our bee and insect sanctuary that my cousin Sherida created a few years ago, which is doing really well, and we get loads of little bugs and lone bees living in all these crevices, and it's just beautiful. That's my latest echinacea, which is a lovely deep pink one, which is beautiful. The geraniums have just been amazing this year. I haven't done any up in the windows because we're shutting the shutters more to keep the heat out, but these are double trailers and they're just divine. Everything is now thriving, mainly because we've had a very wet season and it's been very hot in between, which is great for the flowers, not so great for guests with lots of rain, but the hydrangeas are loving it because they love lots of water. And then we have the most amazing agapanthus that I've had for about 5 years, and just gives me about 50 blooms every year and is looking incredible. And it's another gorgeous day here. It's going to be 32 degrees. Enjoy your Sunday, everybody, and hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.